Joining me now to discuss is retired U.S. Marine Corps Gunnery Sergeant Jessie Jane Duff and decorated combat veteran and Pennsylvania Senate candidate Sean Parnell, both American warriors and both very welcome to the Cortez and Pellegrino show tonight. Sean, let me start with you. You are a veteran of a whole lot of fighting in Afghanistan. When you read that an Obama cabinet member is putting out this kind of comparison, is saying that his political opponents or those with whom he has a disagreement about virus mitigation efforts, that they should be compared to suicide bombers. You are somebody who actually fought literally against suicide bombers, against the risks of IEDs. You are somebody who saw your comrades die in Afghanistan. What is your reaction to Arne Duncan?
Well, Steve, it's just a disgusting comment. I mean, that's just it. I was in Afghanistan for 485 days. I was 10 meters away from ISIS, terrorist suicide bombers. I've been at the whims of the Taliban. I fought against the Haqqani Network and Ekmatir, really a global jihadist all-star team. And I just thought it was disgusting to compare Americans who want more freedom in their life, right, to the Taliban who are anti-freedom in about every way possible. So it was just a gross comment, but it's just how the radical left operates in this day and age. And, we have to be the antithesis of that. We have to be happy warriors in everything that we do. We have to think critically and think for ourselves and trust the science. And that's what the modern day right is all about.
Sure. And that's a good point, by the way, because it is easy to get despondent because, let's face it, things are going terribly wrong in America, much worse than I could have even guessed under the Biden regime. And we do have to castigate what is going wrong, and we have to call the darkness correctly. But then we also have to point the way to the light, and we have to be happy warriors with answers. And that has to be part of what the America First agenda is about. Jessie Jane Duff, I want to ask you about this topic as well, but I also want to, in a sense, almost be fair to Arne, even though I'm not in much of a mood to be fair to him. But what I mean by that is he's hardly the only prominent figure on the left, unfortunately, who talks this way. And I want to listen to an unfortunate mashup here of Joe Scarborough as well as Anthony Scaramucci. Let's hear their comparisons regarding Donald Trump and his followers. Listen, please.
He incited a riot. He incited an insurrection. He's arguably, at least in the 21st century, you could say Timothy McVeigh for the 20th century, but he is the domestic terrorist of the 21st century.
It's what we read in the history books about Hitler. He had his brown shirts. He had his enforcers. He had his thugs that would go around committing acts of violence. Mussolini did it.
So, Jessie Jane, we are apparently brown shirts, those of us who believe in the America First agenda, and Donald Trump is apparently Hitler, at least according to the Mooch and according to Morning Joe. Your reaction to that level of vitriol out there in the public discourse on major platforms?
This is how they think of us. This is what they look at when they look at us. They are soulless ghouls. Arne Duncan was a soulless ghoul. The day that he posted that, on the very day that we were having the men and women come back to Dover Air Force Base, and we were having the dignified ceremony, he posts this. Right. This is what he thinks of us. Here you have Sean Parnell, who has fought 485 days on the Pakistan-Afghanistan border. We need more American men like him. Not those that are so afraid of their shadow that now that their masks are off, we see that they don't fight for Americans. They fight for their propaganda. They fight for their control. And this virus has given them a level of control. It's a level of euphoria. For them, they look down on us. We are the Americans, as Donald Trump has always said. They're not after me. They are after you. They're saying that people like myself and Sean are extremists, that we are Nazis. We are the ones that serve this country. We are the ones that were willing to go. And Sean actually did put his life on the line for many days. He is the type of man that we need in the Senate versus these others who have these appointments that come out now. Obama administrating Obama people actually criticizing on the day that Americans came home. I am sorry.
And Jessie Jane, listen,
so reckless and disgusting.
On that point, you are both heroes, that's for sure. You're not extremists. But on that point, too, I do want to get into this. I want to talk about Arne Duncan's actual record very briefly, Sean, if you would, because we are unfortunately tight on time. But if we look at his record when he was the CEO of schools in Chicago, this is from a UIC, University of Illinois Chicago study. 45% of black men in Chicago between the age of 20 and 24, so prime working age black men, they were neither enrolled in school nor did they have have a job. Almost half of black men in the city of Chicago, in my view, representative of the complete failure of this man and the system that he led as the head of public schools. Your reaction, Sean?
Well, I mean, this is an encapsulation of the modern day left's plans with education. They were a failure pre-pandemic, and they're a failure post-pandemic. Whether it's locking down our schools or mandating masks in schools, even though there's really no science that children spread the virus or are disproportionately affected by the virus. Thank God. Yet we're forcing masks on our kids with really no thought of how it affects them psychologically, developmentally, socially. The left is all wrong on this. And really, it's time for conservatives to lead the way and make sure that we're putting children before the needs of educational bureaucracy.
And Jesse Jane, would like to give you the last word on this. Your thoughts about Arne Duncan, not just that he made reprehensible comments, but let's actually also look at his record, his disastrous record, particularly in Chicago. Your thoughts?
The left has never been for pro-school choice. They have tried to advocate to force all children into public schools that have shown that in many cities have been a failed system. We were the beacon in the world for our public schools, and yet now they've become disastrous. They have actually caused more problems for minority and low-income children. Instead of elevating them, they have degraded their opportunity in the future. The only people in this country that have a great education are those that can afford to pay for it. So the left is hypocrisy. Right. They're soulless ghouls.
Well, listen, two great American patriots, Sean Parnell and Jesse Jane Duff. Thank you both for what you've done for this country, and thank you for being here tonight. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Steve.